So,
Okay,
deep breath, deep breath.
sure.
So, hello, Belle.
Let me like re-enter.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Yeah, there's no like transition, so
Hello, how are you doing? My name is Mar, and I founded an animation studio in Tokyo, in Japan. In live streams like today, we talk about animation industry topics, so on. And today, with us, we have Bellamy Brooks, and I'll let her introduce herself.
yeah. Hi, my name's Bellamy Brooks. I am a animator. I also, alongside doing TV anime, I also create videos online for content creators such as VTubers like Ironmouse, Gargora, Girl DM, and others that I can't talk about yet. But some of the anime that I've worked on is stuff most people are pretty familiar with, like Boruto. I worked on, and others are a little less common, but I think are still popular, at least in Japan, like Akiba Maid War, Prima Doll. I have a whole IMDb page. You can look me up. I can see all my credits. I have really bad on the spot memory, so I have a hard time remembering everything I worked on. But also, so I have been animating for a while, but it's only been the most recent years that I've been working professionally in the entertainment industry.
Thank you very much for your introduction. And first things first, let's go chronologically. I'd like to know, how did you start working in animation?
Mm, it's kind of an accident that I'm in animation in a way.
Okay.
I knew for the longest time that I wanted to do something in the entertainment industry. I thought I wanted to do acting or make art. And I actually started out doing my studies in performance theater. So I was an actor, and I really wanted to pursue a career that way, doing live performances. And I started dabbling in design in high school, and I had also been doing things with art my whole life. So ceramics, playing music, drawing, all of those things that are things that I did since I was a kid. But once I got into college, I realized that theater wasn't going to work for me, and I decided to pursue film. Now, the only film opportunities I had was a broadcast television journalism program. So that's the program that I took. While I was doing that program, I was messing around with animation. I had kind of put drawing to the side at this point in my life. I was focusing more on other forms of storytelling and art creation. Ended up working at the university television station, and I was really bad about being on camera. I like it. Just imagine me just like standing outside, like with a microphone at 2 a.m. in the morning, talking about the Goat Festival, like on the news. Like it doesn't. It's not really for me.
You're great on camera now, though. Like, I'm happy to have you here. You handle the logistical issues very well, I must say.
But so I didn't like telling the news. But I did like doing the things behind the scenes at the station. So I started doing things like technical directing and producing. And also I became the person who designed all the graphics for the TV station. So after I started doing that, the professors were like, okay, you're pretty good at this, so can you make more, and we'll just give you a credit for it. So they gave me a college credit for making animations for the university news station, which is not something that anybody really does. So at that point, I had applied for an internship at a media production company, and I wanted to be an editor. So I came in with my application. I had my like reel of all my news stories that I edited, and I was like, I want to be an editor. And they said, no, you should be on the animation team. And I was like, why? I want to be an edit. I applied for the editing job, and they're like, no, you have animations in your portfolio. You should just do the animations instead. Because I had a lot of After Effects, motion graphics, things like that. It wasn't really hand drawn at this point. It was just kind of After Effects, motion graphics. And then I ended up staying at that studio, helping them build a really large studio out of nothing. I helped build the animation department at that media production company. And I stayed there for about 7 years. The work that I did there for animation started to change over the years from motion graphics into 3D animation, into 3D character animation, into 2D animatic style animation. And so I started doing a lot of character designs, prop designs, backgrounds, 3D models, animation of all sorts, just kind of depend on the projects. And
But
they were
still
all
not
for
hand-drawn.
still
Like
not hand drawn yet.
okay.
Yeah. It wasn't until maybe 2020 that I started getting back into hand drawn illustrations. And whenever I started doing more illustrations, I realized that everything that I had done up to this point was something that I was maybe getting a little tired of, or something that um, didn't feel like I could have repeated enjoyment in, or at
Mm-hmm.
least not get sick of. But drawing was something that I was like, I don't think I could get sick of drawing. I don't love drawing so much that I'll get burnt out on it, if that makes sense. So,
Yes.
you know how they say don't make your hobbies your career? Drawing isn't really a hobby of mine. So, it's easy to just use that as my job. So, once I realized that, I just started drawing every day, um, and starting to create little animations. And I already had learned all the fundamentals of animation from 3D. So I just applied that to 2D. And then I started doing some character illustrations and started doing freelance commissions for OCs and like D&D characters, those types of things.
Question though, like when you say that you started drawing and so on, was it in like Japanese anime style, or was like in the more Western cartoony
No,
style?
it was definitely more Western style originally. I had always been influenced by anime in my drawing, and I did a lot of anime drawings as a kid, like just copying what I saw on TV or tracing stuff or whatever. It's just what I did.
Yeah, I
And
feel you so much there.
but I stopped for like 8 years. I hadn't drawn a single thing, and then got back into it. So I'd like pick up back where I left off when I was like 16, when I was like 25 or something. Yeah, so I got an offer to work at Tonari Animation, and it was a startup studio. I had turned them down like 3 times before I actually said yes.
Okay.
Because I had a stable job, I had benefits, I had everything. Like it was easy, but if you're on a path that's too easy, you're probably on the wrong one. So I participated in that. I realized that this is what I want to do. And after that, I was like, I asked them, every time I get an opportunity, I try to ask for another opportunity that is something slightly out of my reach. So I was like, I'm not ready to work on anime yet, but like I want to work on Boruto. So give me like something easy from Boruto. But then from there, I went from Boruto to Akiba Maid War to doing cleanup animation on Prima Doll. And now the most recent stuff I did was I did animation supervision on Akiba, or on Magical Destroyers, with Studio Bilberry, and also just released Ironmouse Unleashed, which I directed, wrote, and produced. So that's how I got into animation and where I am now. Something that I have like a philosophy of is like, I will just, if a door's open in front of me, I'll probably just go through it.
I'm so happy you went through that and that you're
Yeah.
feeling happy and fulfilled. Okay, so we talk about how you start in the industry. If softwares, because everyone is asking, what softwares have you had to learn, or is there another skill that you had to practice to get into the point you are at now at Tonari?
So in terms of software, I've used all of them. But so I always try to de-emphasize the importance of software, because software doesn't make you an animator. Animation makes you an animator. What I'm using now is Clip Studio, which is the anime industry standard basically right now, besides Paper, which I also do. I think my favorite software is no software.
Amazing. I really wanted to ask you this question because I know it's the thing that we get asked all the time. Draw, animating, whatever. If you have the skill to move things,
Mm-hmm.
the software is not so important. You will adapt to the software and maybe be faster in one or the other, or like maybe you start in one software and then you apply for a company that uses another one. If you know how to animate like in your brain, if that makes sense, and you have like the skill on your hand, let's say if it's hand-drawn animation, you'll get there. So thank you very much for adding to that.
Yeah, you could use a marker board or construction paper and cut it out. Like it doesn't matter.
And they all have pros and cons.
Yeah.
It's not about which one is the best one, really.
Exactly. Like right now I'm animating the stuff I'm working at the studio is all hand drawn on paper. So they sent me the big folder. I am animating on the materials they gave me.
Yep. And before you get into talking about like Ironmouse's production, can you tell us a bit more about other TV projects you've worked on?
So in general, like you asked me if there's anything if there's anything that I'm like proud of, and I would say not really. I have the artist curse of not liking anything that I make. So the more effort I put into it, usually the more unhappy I am with it. The more effort I put into it, the closer I get to my current potential level. And whenever I'm close to that edge, I can it's kind of like seeing all the things I can't do, like laid out in front of me. So if I put minimal effort into something and it turns out decent, I'm like, awesome. Like with Ironmouse Unleashed, it was maximum effort and then like an okay result. People will disagree, but it was a shocking amount of force and effort and sheer willpower went into making that thing. And when at the end I was like, this is my best. This is all I can do. But I try not to let imposter syndrome take over too much, because to me it's like just a little voice that's always like, do better, keep doing better, do better.
We do need the motivation to keep improving. It's how kindly we're telling ourselves we need to improve. It's not like, hey, you're trash. No, it's like, yeah, you have room for improvement. Shall we try? It's the same result. Yeah. But much more uplifting and positive. And it's hard to get that voice right.
If I'm happy with my work, I know there's something wrong. Like I'm missing something, because I know that I'm still a beginner and I still have a lot of room to grow. So I need to show this to somebody better than me so that they can put me in my place.
Note there to our viewers and listeners that has worked in animation industry, different parts of the industry, for 7+ years, more than that, and considers herself a beginner. So let's be kind. It's part of a process. There's always more to learn. I feel exactly the same. The imposter syndrome I have is bad.
Yeah. We did a premiere party for Ironmouse Unleashed, and I was talking to some people, and they would say things very simple like, oh, I produce music, or I draw pictures, or and it's like, no, you're like a famous person. Like you guys are like, what? Why are you talking with this? And then I asked them, I was like, why do you guys minimize what you do? And it's like, it's just hard to explain. Yeah, it seems like the more experience people get, the less confident they could be confident, but the more humble they become.
So Belle did a lot in this project by a VTuber. Let's talk about that. Which when we mention Ironmouse, that's it. So who is Ironmouse, and what did you do for them, and what was the directing experience? Let's get there so we have more context to give.
Before we started the project, I only had known a little bit about Ironmouse. Now I feel like I'm an Ironmouse expert because of the amount of like research I had to do for this project. But she's a VTuber. She started streaming on Twitch 6 years ago. And over the years, she's gained a large audience and popularity. So she's a big streamer who also uses an anime model as a like an interface avatar. Since VTubers are all often drawn in an anime style, many of them are looking to produce and make animations that are in the anime style. So that's where my studio kind of fills a niche, is that we're still small enough that we can produce these more independent videos for these
Mm-hmm.
content creators to be able to like fulfill their dreams of having their avatar be in an anime. And so basically they came to me and Tonari and asked if we could produce a video for them, but they didn't have a particular goal for the story of the video. They were like, I just want an anime to give to my fans. What do you have?
That's the
Like,
best type
what
of
can you do?
project. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Like,
So
yep.
that gave me the opportunity to write a synopsis and get that approved, then write a screenplay and do all the storyboards. And well, not all the storyboards. Someone helped me with a few of the sections because it was overwhelming. So I'm in an interesting position right now to be able to get these job opportunities that normally wouldn't be accessible to someone at my level and state of my career.
But then you have the support of the rest of the studio. That's also why you're given this opportunity. You're not alone there.
Yeah, exactly. I
Either.
had a team of like 50 people that were helping me on the project as well. As a beginner, as a new director, I can't rely too heavily on myself, because if I do, then it's not going to turn out good. Like I don't have all the expertise on compositing and art direction and voice acting and all these things. Like I have to have other people that know what they're doing. So like my art director, Hugh Tran, amazing art director. We worked really, really well together and had many meetings to discuss how we wanted the backgrounds to look for both different worlds. If you haven't seen it, basically there's a multiverse of Ironmouses, which are all of her models throughout the years, and they all come together to defeat an evil version of herself. And so there's different art styles for every world. So sort of like Spider-Verse, I wanted to follow that sort of idea, because I think that that's very cool. Also, I released Ironmouse. I was working on Ironmouse Unleashed before Spider-Verse 2 came out, so I didn't copy anything from that.
Just animation takes a long time.
Yeah. However,
these things happen.
We had a motion graphics artist from Into the Spider-Verse work on Ironmouse Unleashed for like the portal effect and the credits.
How was the directing experience itself? Like, how was it? Because as you said, it's your first time you have to direct, even with having like the lieutenants, as you mentioned.
It's just like, it's blood, sweat, and tears. Like everything about directing is like super stressful, but really rewarding. I think it's really difficult to do that. I don't think very many people, I think there's a lot of people who want to be directors that have really good movie ideas, but they have no idea how to communicate that to people. One thing that I did was, for each segment of the production, I sat down with someone who knew more than me and said, tell me everything you know, so that I can communicate my vision to you in an effective way. Like, for example, I sat down with my art director, Hio, and I was like, tell me how to talk to you about art directions.
Yeah, what information do you need so you can do a good job in this vision that I have?
Same thing with like voice acting. I sat down with my voice actor friends that are in the industry and said, when you are in a session and you're being directed for these voice lines, what sort of language are they using to help them get to the goal that they're trying to reach? It's this huge multifaceted thing. You're trying to pull a movie out of your brain and push it onto paper and onto a screen. It's the most difficult thing, but I loved doing it. So hopefully I can do it again soon.
That's a good thing. How did you feel about the responsibility side of things?
That didn't bother me too much, because I had a lot of producing experience. Like I would say my producing experience is stronger than my directing experience. So being able to get the project released on time, I had no worries that was going to happen. I think one of the things that a lot of directors fail to do is to make sure that the project is delivered on time and it stays on budget. Like, those are two things that, like, because directors, they want to make their perfect perfect movie, their perfect vision, and it's not possible. You don't like no director can really ever get there unless they have infinite time and infinite budget, which we don't have. So we have to figure out how to make what we can with what we have in the time we're given. Making a directing almost feels like being on one of those cooking shows where they set a timer and you have to create this like masterpiece recipe in like 30 minutes or an hour or something like that. And then you're just like constantly adding things, and then you're like, okay, this looks really weird, but maybe it'll taste good. And then you're like, you throw and you quickly add on some dressing and some kind of like things to make it look pretty. And then you're like, here, hopefully this works, because they'll say hands up, and you just have to submit whatever it is.
I'm so happy you're mentioning that, because that's a huge part on directing that. So I also have a directing experience, and something that's very big and is that I have a specific budget, and I know that myself or my team sometimes can deliver something better, but it wasn't in budget. We cannot add more drawings for the sake of it, because it's then I cannot pay my team, or then it will not be done on time and things like that. It's like I deliver something, I'm like, well, given all these circumstances, not just creative, we could do this. Having to be happy and proud about it. Like sometimes you're more or less proud because of that. Like it's not just creativity and how you explain. Like directing is a lot on communication. Like how you communicate with your team is like a very key thing. And
I want to talk about that.
Like creative in budget, creative in managing your team. That's another set of creativity that's not drawing at that.
That was a really good point that you brought about communication, because I think one of the most difficult things of directing is making sure that your team is happy, engaged, inspired, and like ready to do the work. If you're giving them a project that they are no longer inspired by, or you give them an attitude that makes them not enjoy working with you, the work will suffer. So like making sure that everyone is happy, hyped, excited the entire time is extremely exhausting and difficult, but very important.
I love directing, and I'm so happy to talk with someone who gets it. I'm trying to interview you and let you talk, and I'm like, oh yeah, I feel you. When you that I'm so sorry.
It's very fun, very stressful. Like if there's like people watching this that want to be a director, just know it's like an emotional roller coaster trying to direct, because things will get missed, deadlines will miss, artists will ghost you. There's just a million things that will go wrong, but your goal as the director is to direct. And like if you think of a person in the center of a busy intersection because the lights aren't working, that's your job. You're just like trying to get everybody through that intersection without crashing into each other.
It's about being creative with all the tools you're given and adapt to any circumstance happening. So I think it's also very important you have experience with production as well and project management, because that's a key thing in directing.
Exactly. Knowing a little bit about every stage of production is really important.
I think we mentioned what you liked about the job and so on, like pros and cons. Can we talk about what did you learn from this project? Like if probably a lot, but what are some things that you learn and like, I wish I'd have known that, or you wish that people listening who wants to be a director knows this before they do?
I have a few big takeaways from this production. One of them is you can never guess how much it's going to cost in the beginning. You can get close, but there's so many things that will pop up during the production that are unforeseen. So in my next project, I will double the budget for the unseen events. The things will always either go wrong, or there's things that you want to add that you didn't expect. For example, we did the after credits scene in the Ironmouse Unleashed. That was a last minute addition. It took about a month to produce. So we just crammed that out. Talented animator Doodle worked on that and was able to get that out really quickly. But like that wasn't in the original budget. We budgeted for 900 drawings. We ended up with almost 2,000. In the next project, I will definitely manage the frame count more closely. to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that we're hitting that drawing amount goal. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think that the animation could improve that way too, because we're not wasting so much energy on the things that don't need it. Other things that I learned a shocking amount about art direction. I learned a lot about voice acting. I will say that my storyboarding skills advanced quite a bit throughout the production. I filled a binder with storyboards. So I did 6 versions of the storyboards, and
Whoa.
the last version of them, each frame was very clearly drawn with lighting and details added, so that it made it really easy for the animators. I think that a lot of the pre-production stuff, I have a lot of experience with that, so that went very smoothly for me. Once we got into the production of the animation, that's where I started to struggle as a director. So something I learned was just some of my weaknesses in the animation world. So I know it's weird to say, but animation is my weakest point in animation. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is like I'm more of an illustrator. So you give me a really simple cut that has high detail or high emotion, and I could pretty well do that. Or you give me a big monster, I'll give it all the details that it'll look cool. But if you give me something where there's a lot of motion, then
Yeah.
it's more difficult for me to direct. My figure drawing skills are not where they should be. Yeah, so I would say that those are some of the things that I learned.
That's fantastic. Is this something that in the future you think in like I want to get better at this, or something that's like, okay, knowing this, maybe I will get a lieutenant that's good at dynamics, for
Hmm.
example, and then I
Yeah,
can manage that. Like, what's your approach to this specific, like not weakness, but
mhm.
noticing also like
Yeah. So I mean, just doing more animation. Really, I'm working on a couple TV anime projects and a movie, so those are helping me improve on my animation side.
mm-hmm.
And something else is I have a really interesting learning opportunity to learn more about perspective. So I'm I'm trying to think about my cuts a little bit more closely in three-dimensional perspective. It's something I de-emphasized because I was like, okay, we're key animators. I don't need to worry about backgrounds. But the perspective I'm learning is really helps inform the characters. So you can't draw the character correctly unless you know where they exist in space. Basically, when I see a weakness that I have that's really weak, I want to focus on that weakness because I know I can improve quickly with it.
That's a very
Exactly.
interesting approach.
Yeah. So if you notice a weakness that's like level 1, you can get to level 5 easily. Like maybe a few
Yeah.
weeks of practice, maybe a month or so, and you can
Yeah.
just kind of like boom, you have the basics, and that will help the other skills
Yeah.
too.
Especially
Um,
directing.
mhm. Yeah, you have to multi-class. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
doing more D&D references.
So, is there a last, like, aspiring director advice you would like to give before we go to questions and talk about like your next projects?
Oh, sure. My instinct is to say if you want to be a director, don't. Like, it's
From
it's
someone who loves directing and wants to do it again.
yeah, I want to direct again, but I don't think very many people understand just how difficult of a job that is. If you're okay with the idea that you won't make a good piece of work until 20 years later, you could be a director maybe, I think.
Yeah.
But you have to keep finishing stuff and finishing directing projects, even if they aren't turning out the way you wanted them to. Because I will say it's way more important to finish a piece of art than turn over and try to perfect the one you're working on now. I think this applies to every form of art, that if you know it could be improved, but there's a point where you can't improve it more at your skill level. So you have to start over and do something new.
Yeah. Beware, it will take a lot of time to be happy with it if you're ever happy with what you direct, and keep delivering.
Hmm.
Keep consistently
Yeah.
finishing projects. Great advice.
Hmm.
Really good. Last question for for me to you would be, what are you working on that you can say now? So like, what are you working on? Or what is something you look forward doing? If you cannot say what you're working on, which is very classic in our industry.
Okay, what I want to do, I can answer, but I don't think I can
Okay.
answer what I'm working on.
It's
Just
okay.
know that
It's okay. Don't.
I'm working on a lot of animation productions for TV, movies, and independent projects right now. So there's stuff happening. I'm animating on paper for a TV anime that is very popular. So I'm really excited and looking forward to that. So that'll be really cool when that comes out. But in terms of things that I want to do, I want to keep directing. That felt right for me. So the more opportunities I get to do that, I will take them. But on the other hand, if I get any opportunities to do character design for anime or animation, that would be amazing. But I know that character design jobs for foreigners in this industry are like non-existent. My studio, if we get a full IP or whatever where we get to produce the pre-production, that would be amazing because I love pre-production. Everything that goes into it, storyboarding, scripting, idea generation, character design, set design, like all of those things, anything I can do to work in that area, I would be quite happy. Here's the reason why I like animation. It's not because I'm highly passionate about animation or that like it's my dream to be an animator. It's because when you animate, your illustration skills and your drawing skills improve so much faster than if you were to be drawing individual fully painted illustrations, because you are forced to draw these characters again and again and again in a bunch of different angles, and you have to think about the story and the three-dimensionality of everything that's happening. For something I see a lot with portfolios is I'll see characters that are all very similar looking, and they're all in mid eye level static standing poses. Yeah, and it's like they could have different costumes or hair, but they're basically the same. So with animation, you end up drawing ugly characters, big characters, monstrous characters, cute characters, and all of those things help improve our animals even like.
And you don't always have like the main, as you were into like saying too, like you don't have only like the main beautiful character, if that makes sense. You have everyone in the background and how they move and in different perspective. And like it's just so much bigger, so much bigger.
Yeah. Something I would mention as advice as well for anyone is that draw characters besides cute girls. Like they're super fun to draw, but I don't think people realize how fun ugly characters are to draw and animate until you animate them.
Or stop putting hands in the pockets or having the hair cover an eye because it's very aesthetically pleasing. If you keep avoiding that, that part will not get better. And as Belle was saying, like those things that you feel bad at, they're very, like if you pursue them, they're very easy to go from like level 1 to 5. Maybe not to 20. 20 is a lot, but just from 1 to 5 will help you not like leverage down the rest of the drawing. Okay, I'll read. I have a couple questions noted. One of them is, okay, so they're for both of us. At this point in your career, what would you say is your signature directional style? Whoa, that's a good one.
Okay, I actually could probably pinpoint this.
Go ahead.
So, but here's the thing: is it's like director styles. Most directors their style is just a combination of other directors that they like. Like if there's a Venn diagram of 3 directors, my goal is to be in the center of this. Makoto Shinkai, Hayao Miyazaki, and Yo Yoshinari. Okay. Whatever exists there, I want to make that. So I want the amazing cinematography and lighting design of Makoto Shinkai with the emotional appeal of Hayao Miyazaki and the spiritual mono noir like calmness, but then also with the chaotic energy of like Yo Yoshinari.
That's a very good direction.
That combination is what I hope my style will be eventually. Yeah, it's not something that I don't think many directors can pin down, especially early on, like I am.
No. I mean, I think you replied very well to the question, really. In my same way, when I read signature directional style, I was thinking something else. But to reply first, according to what you're saying, I think I would be more in the with these intersections. I would be closer to Makoto Shinkai, Hayao Miyazaki, and then Studio Chizu's style. I think because I come from drawing, I was thinking, how do I direct my stuff? And because of the drawing, I draw a lot to
Mhm.
explain what I want to do. So I put a lot of memos, a lot of information to what I need. Like I over explain to the degree
Mhm.
that as you have experienced as different types of people, some of your staff, people you're working with will want the minimum information or they will get overwhelmed. Other people want all the details. I'm the type of director that likes to give the whole thing.
Mm.
So in me, like
Ah,
give the whole thing, draw notes, everyone's like, there you have it.
interesting.
Whatever.
Oh,
That
that's
happens.
it's actually quite the opposite of me and my style.
Oh,
If you're talking about style direction
yes.
in that way,
Yeah.
I would say that I am more of the type to I'm going to build a really solid foundation, and then once I give that to you, I want you to add what you bring to the table to the
Oh,
production.
they do that too.
So,
Like they also like bring a lot of creativity. It's like, okay, I want something that has like all this,
mhm,
but then all this is so they have an idea like to
mhm.
inspire them, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. It's like important to me when I'm directing something that every single person adds a little piece of themselves to the production.
Yeah.
If they just blindly follow my directions, it's probably not going to turn out good. If they just took my drawings right out of the storyboard, used those exactly as keyframes, and then just in between them, like it might
No,
not
no,
look
no,
too
no, no,
great.
no, no, no. Yeah.
So,
I'm there with you. I understand.
mhm,
All right. Oh my gosh, such a fun interview and such a fun stream.
mhm,
We've had a lot of technical issues, so thank you very much, everyone, holding on with
mhm,
the audio, internet connection, and me yelling because I'm having the construction noise. I'm just so happy that you could came here. You gave such good advice. Do you want to also reintroduce yourself, Belle, and tell them where to find you? What's your next thing? Like, what do you want people to do now?
things that are coming up. I have stuff
Yeah,
coming up.
yeah. Like,
So
tell us.
if you are in the US and you are on the West Coast, I will be a guest at a convention in Portland. So
Oh,
they've invited me out to come talk about anime, do industry Q&As, and do some. I'll be on their Celebrity Jeopardy panel, and that's going to be a lot of fun. That's KumoriCon in Portland at the end of November, and I think it's the last weekend of November. It's not officially announced yet, but it will be soon. And I'll share the link to that on my Twitter as soon as it's announced.
thank you so much for coming.
Of
You hear
course.
Belle. Just check on Twitter to know what's coming up, including visiting her in the convention. By the way,
Mhm.
congratulations on being a
Thank you.
speaker. It would be lovely. I hope you have a lovely time.
Mhm.
I'm very awkward at closing streams, but it's
It's
that
okay.
time.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This has been super fun. And I love talking to you about animation. So this is cool. Actually, this is the most we've talked about animation since we've met.
Ever. It's amazing.
Uh-huh.
We've met in an anime event, almost a day together, also in another group, and we never talked so
Yeah.
much. Thank you, Belle, for being here. I really love this time
Thank
together.
you.
Bye.
Okay.